Coming for the launch of this very pretty looking little book. Notice I'm exactly the same as on the cover there. Wonderful bit of artwork done by Carl Whitmore, who does a lot of stuff here, and hopefully will be along a little bit later on, but excellent artwork from Carl. I started writing these poems. I never intended to have them published. They were just to entertain, particularly students. When I was working at the Dean of Valley Centre, I worked at the outdoor education and to entertain the kids. So I'd write the odd verse. And it started when we used to take primary school kids on a walk from Freshwater Bay over to the Needles via the Tennyson Monument. And we had one school where the English teacher used to come with them, and she used to get them sitting down by the Tennyson Monument, and we'd read extracts of Tennyson poems, and then we'd get the kids writing their own stuff and performing it there. And first time I did this, I was cringing with horror, thinking these 11-year-old kids, well, this is going to be embarrassingly bad. And I was just knocked over backwards by the quality of what they could produce. You know, never underestimate kids. If you give them let their imagination go. And the teacher concerned had also taught them a lot of good technical English as well. So they had a nice balance. So anyway, I started trying to write my own while we were up there, and we told them how the Tennyson would haul himself up the hill to the area where the monument is now and wander around to get his inspiration. So my first efforts were things like, there was a young poet called Ten who walked up a steep hill and then flew into a rage when he opened his page and found he'd forgotten his pen. So that's the sort of way I started off. I'm just going to do one more for the moment, then I'm going to hand over to Jean, the publisher, for a quick word. The style of my poems tends to be very light-hearted. I went to a poetry writing workshop once, and somebody commented on how often it's the sort of darkest times which give rise to the greatest poetry. And that caused me to write this poem, which I call Smug Bastard. I've heard it said the greatest poems arise out of despair, romantic disappointment, loss of those for whom we care, financial hardship, unemployment, bullying, abuse, creating doubts about self-worth, if life has any use. If this is true, then I'm at a disadvantage, for most things have gone just right for me. I couldn't ask for more. I had a loving family, a childhood without stress, excelled at school, got 2 degrees, employers to impress. For earning cash, I've always had the means, I've always had a job that I've enjoyed, and for many years, full-time hours I managed to avoid. But still, I've hardly ever lacked the means to pay the price, although there was one year when we just went skiing twice. I've had a most delightful wife for over 40 years. We've never even had a row, no bitter scenes, no tears. We've danced and skied and skated, canoed and walked and run, and spent a good proportion of our lives just having fun. To write of inner turmoil just wouldn't come out right, and so I'm left with little choice. I'll keep my poetry light. Not designed to be disrespectful to poems of other styles. I know more intense poetry can be very moving to read and very cathartic for the writer, but it just explains my style there. So this is a poem also based on seashore life, but this one is about the limpet. And 2 things you need to know about the limpet to understand the poem. One is that they grasp onto the rocks very tightly in order to avoid drying out. When the tide comes in, they wander around over their rock grazing algae, but they always come back to the same place so that their shell develops a nice tight fit with the rock, and then they don't dry out when the tide's out. And this can cause a mark on the rock, which is known as a home scar, hence the scar in the title here. The other thing you need to know about limpets is that they are what are known as protandrous hermaphrodites, which means they start life as men and grow into women. About the age of 4, most of them change sex. Doesn't actually change their behaviour much because they reproduce just by releasing sperms and eggs into the water anyway, and so just changes what they release. But anyway, this poem was called Scar on the Rock, and again I wrote it for my A-level students when I was working down there. Lucy the limpet had lived a long time, a venerable mollusk, now well past her prime. As a boy, she'd discovered this rock, smooth and flat, with plenty of algae to help him grow fat. So she stayed there forever, reluctant to move, and into the rock she wore a deep groove. As for family, though for us it might seem somewhat sad, she'd no notion to whom she'd been mother or dad, for they'd all drifted off to far distant shores or ended their lives between hungry jaws. 10,000 tides she had seen come and go, her hard hat protecting her from every foe. But now she was weak and could hold on no more, and so a huge wave knocked her clean off the shore. Her time it was over, she'd run down the clock, and all that was left was a scar on the rock. For us too, the clock ticks and ticks all too fast. Though we cling to our rock, we know it can't last. When my time is over, when there's no more Steve, I wonder what manner of scar I will leave. Will it be poetry, or students inspired to study the seashore, more limpets admired? Or will no one know that I've lived and I've died, and care not a jot for all that I've tried? It's foolish to worry, for scars seldom last. Erosion soon sees they're consigned to the past. So don't think of your scar, just enjoy living now, before your time comes to take that last bow. Thank you.